Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We're going to go ahead and get the work session started. Just so everybody has an idea of how we're going to try to work tonight. After our work session, the county commission also has a work session at 6 o'clock. We've been added to the agenda, and so as soon as we finish the work session, Board Chairman Price, Mr. Loesch, and I are going to try to go across the street and be there in support of our agenda, which we just saw the resolution. It has been posted to the agenda, so we are on the agenda to be discussed tonight. And there are several co-sponsors I believe we're sitting on. With the way the resolution sits, there's 9 co-sponsors, or 8 co-sponsors and 1 sponsor. Yeah, so that's good news. So, yes, I can. 1 second.
What'd you say?
So currently,
Read them out loud.
Zane Vanover is sponsoring the resolution. Co-sponsors include Joyce Crosswhite, Gary Stidham, Daniel Horn, Hunter Locke, Travis Ward, Darlene Calton, Cheryl Harvey, and David Hayes at this point. So the 2 that weren't there are actually, yes. So we'll go over at 6. There's 1 rezoning matter before us, and we're the second item. So hopefully we can be there and have the presentation and then be back over here by 6:30. If not, I think Mr. Spivey's set to lead the meeting, but we'd like to delay if we can just a little bit, Mr. Spivey, if we're close, because we'd love to be here for the meeting tonight. So we'll see how that goes. On our agenda, we don't have a work agenda per se, because all the items on our regular agenda make up the work session tonight. So Ms. King didn't prepare another sheet of paper and preserved a tree there. So as we're looking down under the consent agenda, we have some MOUs mainly. There's a Pepsi contract that Westridge has for vending purposes there with Pepsi. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 dual enrollment MOUs between Northeast State and then Northeast State RCAM, which is the Regional Center for Advanced Manufacturing, for both Sullivan East and for Westridge. And then 2 MOUs with Walter State. And those MOUs, and Ms. Madge, you jump in if there's anything you'd like to add, but those are MOUs for culinary arts, which is not offered at Northeast State, nor at TCAT Elizabeth, and nor any other post-secondary institution in this general area. So Walter State has a pretty well-recognized program over in Sevier County, but they're going to dually enroll our teachers at both schools, and they'll be able to teach that dual enrollment course, because a lot of our students who graduate with culinary arts as their focus go to the Walter State program anyway, so this just gives them a good head start. And then the last is Diane Copus from our nursing and health, coordinated health, the MOU with Sullivan County Regional Health Department is a yearly MOU that Ms. Copus has.
Mr. Carter, I have a question about that.
Yes.
On number 8 of the MOU with the Sullivan County Regional Health Department, plan and collaborate of annual flu clinics and other vaccine PODs for student employees of Sullivan County. I know that this past year, we had some questions, and they kind of changed how they were going to locations to. Have we been able to rectify that any going
No,
forward?
I don't think that's changed any at this point, no ma'am. And it was really a big hit last year that we didn't get near our numbers that we had in previous years, so.
I mean, is that negotiable? Is it a conversation we can have again?
Diane hasn't responded that that's something that's negotiable at this point. So if it is, we'll do whatever we can to,
I'd like for someone to
Expand.
just follow up with
Okay.
them. Again, simply reiterating what you said, we didn't meet the numbers that we had in the past. It's not that any of our employees cannot go to CVS or Walgreens or wherever. It's
convenient.
just so convenient when they can be there and they can, I mean, it's a very short period of time that they're in a school. I mean, they're not there long at all. I just think this is such a beneficial benefit
just for the health of our
for the
whole
health of our,
community.
yes. I mean, we want to keep them healthy. We want them to be able to be in school every day and not miss. And I just don't think it would add that many more hours to what they're doing to be able to work each school for an hour or less, probably much less, actually.
I've noted that, and we'll speak with Diane and see what we can do on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And then letter H is the consolidated application that Ms. Akerd has for IDA and ESEA. So those are our part of our consent agenda. Most of those are annual, yearly type MOUs. So and then I've made the note there that Dr. Rouse made the request that we try to work to see if we can get some more sites. That would be a big positive for us. Moving on down to the director's comments, have two things other than the fact to say that our schools are really off to a good start. We've got some HVAC issues in some of our schools, and Mr. Burchett, would you like to say any updates or anything about our status on HVAC and what's going on?
Rock Spring, weather-related issues there. Most guys been over there all week, getting everything. Successful getting back up on Monday morning, and still got some weeks to do it. Had a similar issue in Holston. Had an instant plant, been out there Sunday night, he got help. We are very short-handed, as everybody knows. Got about 20 plus more people running, and we're getting those fast.
It'd be great if he could come to the microphone
Okay.
so that we could all hear.
Yeah,
him better.
can you care to come up to the microphone? I think that's all good information. And that'll help with the recording as well. Is he hot? Is it on? Oh, okay. Might want to wait just a second. Try that red button.
It's loading.
Oh, it's still loading.
Okay, just to clarify what I was saying, we do have a very short staff in HVAC right now. As everybody knows, it's hard to get HVAC workers. I've got about 20-plus work orders. They're trying to get to them as fast as we can. We had weather-related issues at Indian Springs. Most HVAC guys have been there all week working on that. They were very successful on Monday, bringing it back up. Still have a few rooms they're working with. Holston was another issue we had. Individual went there Sunday night. He took care of that one so they could proceed with school on Monday morning. And I've got a couple of compressors out. I've got one at Sullivan Gardens and another one at Holston as well that need to be replaced. So we're trying to get to them as fast as we can, but with the crew that we have right now and being down 2 HVAC workers, it's pressing for the county right now.
And just to clarify, that was Rock Springs, not Indian
Springs,
right?
I'm sorry,
Yes,
Rock Springs.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you said when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
was sitting, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Any questions? Or
Someone was mentioning to me this morning that Central Middle School was having some issues.
I've not
I
heard
don't
about
know
that.
if-
That's a new system.
Gosh, I hope not.
That's a brand new system at
They
Central
said
Middle.
that they would go like in parts of the building and it would be cold and some parts would be really hot. This was one of the janitor, well, this was one of the the janitors that was telling me that this morning, so.
Okay, I'll follow up with that in the morning.
Okay.
Getting good progress on the access road there at Westridge, I believe.
Yes, good progress on that. A couple more things on the project updates. Paving bids for Holston and Indian Springs, we returned on the 15th of August. East Middle School addition bids will be returned as well on the 21st of August for the Indian Spring and Holston. East Middle School additions on the 15th. The bids will come back for that one.
They'll be opened on the 15th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
opened on the 15th.
For the Sullivan East editions.
The East STEM class is moving along real well. Miss Madge and I go over there about once every 2 weeks, if not sooner than that, and it's coming along great.
I think that's about it. We've got bids coming in and work coming in on all the lighting systems, I know.
Lighting system at East High School, just waiting on some contracts to come back, and that's going to be underway here shortly for the tennis, softball, baseball, and football.
I think football, they about decided would have to wait till after the season for the lights on it, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Baseball, softball, and tennis should all be ready for this upcoming season.
Do you have an update on the boiler for Miller Perry?
Miller Perry boiler, we spoke about that. What we're going to do is we're going to get sections for that. We're going to place sections in it. Should be we're ready to begin that process pretty quick on that.
We did have to do emergency
We
purchase
did
on
do
that.
emergency purchase on that.
So that they could get that fixed, because if not, we weren't gonna have heat this winter. Yeah, so it was,
But they're very confident to have it ready to go by October.
Thank you.
it's gonna be closed in October, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Everybody
closed.
hope for a warm October.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, so we'd be all right there, the heat side. I think, anybody else?
Yes, sir. What are the current plans for the drainage issue at the baseball field?
At East, I spoke with Mr. Hare about that, and we're going to clean out the drainage ditch out back. I've already spoken to Jeremy Copus about that, so we're going to take care of that issue. We're hoping that's going to resolve the problem.
Do you know about when that may happen?
We're going to get it done before, probably this fall.
Okay. A follow-up question. Has anybody talked to you about the heating units at the Bluff City Elementary School?
The heating units, yes, I know
About
that's,
the dehumidifiers or the lack thereof?
the dehumidifiers or the heating units?
Well, say it again.
The heating units? Is that what you're
The
talking
heating
about?
and air units, the big new units we put in
Yes,
that look like from the 1950s or something?
yeah,
I hear that that the rooms are really damp and the
Okay.
walls are sweating. And I think it's possible that it wasn't hooked up or something maybe, but I went down a time or two, and some of the rooms you can touch the walls, and I saw some paper that had curled up.
okay.
So I don't know if anybody had mentioned it,
No, but I will follow up with that as
Yeah.
well tomorrow.
and it could be that somebody mentioned it and it's fixed. It's been a few days since I heard that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Birch, I was gonna say, I appreciate, he's really came in and, I don't wanna say filled a void, but he's definitely picked up a lot on these meetings with all the ESSER projects and taking the lead on those, and that's helped me out a lot. So I appreciate him for that as well, and, I think we're moving in the right direction. Things are going well, so thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
Thank you. In addition, a couple other items, on August the 26th, students will not be in school. That's a staff development day. And then on September the 2nd, we'll be out of school as well for Labor Day. So those are two upcoming dates. And other than that, I've just got nothing but positive reports from our principals, and things are going well. Tonight, under 6, we'll be doing a recognition of our tenured teacher list. We have 12 actually that we granted tenure to back at the end of the 23-24 school year, but since they were already out and trying to, vacations and just travel and such, we thought we'd recognize those this fall, so they'll be here tonight. There's one individual who will not be with us, but the rest of those tenure recipients will be here as they've reported. So we'll recognize them. We have a certificate, and we'll call them up tonight as well. Down under new business, we have a policy that we're asking to delete. It's about advanced college placement, or AP, and it's carried under another policy, so it's just more of a duplicate than anything. So, Dr. Palmer, is that justified, the
That's accurate, it's just
duplicate,
there's no sense in having.
two different places? It stands by itself in that 4.203, and it's included with the other ones that are similar, dual enrollment and dual credit, things like that, right? Okay. So I'll ask for a move to delete that policy. And then I have Mr. Foster here this evening, and we're asking for some modifications or a little change to the alternative school discipline. Anything in particular any questions for Mr. Foster, or anything you'd like to hear from him on that? I guess the biggest thing, Mr. Foster, you tell me if you don't agree, the biggest thing is that move from having a 10-day placement in alternative school, correct?
Let me just address that just very quickly, just so we know what. So this has been written in response to going to our new alternative school that we're using district-wide, grades 6 through 12. Elementary students, K through 5, we don't do elementary school for those guys. And so what we're doing now is that the district-wide alternative school no longer has a 10-day alternative school stay. Kids who are going to the brand-new alternative school will have a program that they're going to complete, and it's not tied to a specific number of days. It's tied to the program that they're going to do. So, the idea behind that is not just going to alternative school to serve your time. It's going there, working through a program, being able to return back to the classroom. As a result, after at the June board meeting, when the board made the decision to progress with the alternative learning center and the alternative school in its new form, we had to go back to the drawing board and kind of redraw what that looks like in terms of discipline. So the document that you have in front of you list, and this is the 6 through 8 book and the 9 through 12 book, list the current discipline for all offenses. And then the column to the right is the proposed discipline for all offenses. One noticeable addition in that right-hand column is where it says plus contract. Contract is a new document that we're going to use. And so when a student gets in trouble, then the administrators of that school will sit down with that student and say, you have done this and this and this. We need you to understand that the very next time that we have an occurrence of this nature, you're going to be going to the alternative school. And we are not going to provide transportation. This is going to happen. This is what the program looks like, yada, yada. And it requires the student and the parent to sign off to say, hey, we knew this was coming. So that's one of the things when you look at that right-hand column that you still see this word contract that keeps coming up over and over and over. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Any questions you have specifically?
One of the things that I really like about this program is it's all about restorative and being responsive to the student early so that we don't end up with a student in the alternative school. About every step that students have some sort of discipline issue, there's a counseling, there's interventions. And those interventions are geared towards keeping students out of the alternative school in the first place, trying to get to the root cause of the behavior, trying to see what might be stemming from some kind of home issue, some kind of basic need that's not being met, that's causing the student to act out or not be doing their work or things like that. So trying to be really provide the interventions to get the student from being in an alternative school, but once they get there, Mr. Foster spoke about the program. The program is all those services as well. What things do we need to do to help this student be successful when they do go back to the regular school setting? And I'll give you an example. We had a student who was stemming from an incident late in the year, last school year, the end of 23-24. They're going to the alternative school, and the parents were living in the east zone, and they were like, we just can't get our child down there. And so we started talking about it, and, I feel for that because both parents are working, and they're thinking, we just can't do that. So they said, it's his fault that he got in trouble anyway. And I said, well, that's exactly right. And he's like 16 years old. I said, so you're letting him punish you for him getting in trouble. And I said, what if you thought about maybe getting him to get a job and pay for his transportation to get to alternative school? She said, boy, that's an idea I never thought of. And she liked that idea, and she was going to pursue it, but she ended up finding a ride for him. So it's, yeah, exactly, Uber, But, it just goes to show that sometimes the students are getting in trouble, and then the parents are the ones that are kind of feeling like they're getting punished because, well, I've got to take him there now. Well, put the onus back on your child to teach them a lesson that you got to be accountable for your choices and responsibilities. So I feel like we're definitely moving in the right direction. Couldn't brag enough on Mr. Hilton. He's doing an amazing job down there because he's kind of working with Dr. Palmer, also on the virtual. And I'd like to, if you don't mind, this kind of ties in with this because it's part of the new program. Dr. Palmer, would you mind giving just a short update? Mr. Foster, thank you. Oh, Mr. Spivey's got a question, Mr. Foster.
It wasn't necessarily a question. I'm sure you could answer it too, Mr. Carter. It was mainly something Mr. Foster already covered because my question was just, I noticed the plus contract too. I'm fully confident that in a lot of ways, our central office knows more about disciplinary laws than most lawyers. But I was just going to say it might be a good idea to make sure that Chris McCarty just takes a look at whatever contract's drafted as part of the procedure.
What is, I know on line number C here, it says dangerous instrument. What would that be considered?
Dangerous instruments can be anything that a student could use that's not covered under zero tolerance. It could be something like a pencil, and
ink pen.
the way it's used, and it has its own discipline process involved in that.
Okay.
You know what, Mr. Spivey, that contract might have been a poor choice. It's more of a document that provides information to the parents of, this is what's happened. If this continues to happen, this is what's going to happen. So,
We definitely can.
yeah,
send it to
absolutely.
Mr. Carter. I think it's a good suggestion. Thank you. All right.
So, just a quick update. We've had a lot of parent meetings over the past week, starting on Monday, and have just gone as fast as we can. Parents have been wonderful to fill out our application online. We get their information, give them a call, and we've asked parents to come in as soon as they could so we could get everything underway. We've met with over 30 families this week already. We have officially 37 enrolled. We have over 70 applications. Last I looked, it was about 72 applications. So, our number that we capped the program at for online was 50. That's easy at this point. That's not going to be a problem. We've really seen a lot of need from our families that have come and met with us. A lot of different issues have come out that families have brought to us, and the reasons why they need to be a part of this program. So, in reality, your heart goes out to the family, for the different things that they've brought to us, as the reason why they need to be in the program that we've built. But at the same time, it's hard not to leave those meetings with a full heart, knowing that we're doing the right thing for kids. And so that's where we are right now. I feel really good about the program and what we're able to do for our families. I know a lot of you all have asked me kind of on the side or sent me a text and asked about what does it look like as far as the number of homeschool kids that we've brought in. And I'll just say, when we were at 20-something, and we had a lot of, probably about half of those were homeschool originally, enrolled in homeschool programs. And so I don't know exactly what that number is as of right now as we speak, but I will say, and this is not the norm, but out of the 6 families that were accepted in the program today, 5 of those were homeschool. So is it half? I'm not exactly sure, so I wouldn't want to give you an exact number because I'd be wrong. But we are bringing a lot of homeschool families who are very excited about the program. And I'll tell you, one of the greatest things that families get excited about, especially the homeschool families, is that we have a program where at the end, they know their kids are getting a real diploma, a real Sullivan County diploma, and that includes them walking across the stage at the end of their senior year. That is something a lot of families get excited about, and you see those big smiles, come on their faces when we talk about that. So I think we're going the right direction. I'm very excited about it, and thank you so much for your support and encouraging and the recommendations and all different things that you've given to make this happen. Are there any questions?
What are your expectations as far as revenue by the first of next year? Have you got a projection? I mean, I've kind of got one. I mean, what do you think?
Without sitting down, pen to paper, I wouldn't want to speculate. And I'll be honest with Mr. Hughes, in working with the families, putting folks in this program, that's not been something I've really taken a lot of time with, and maybe I should. I've been very student oriented in this whole process. And so I really couldn't tell you, but I'll be glad to do the math on it and figure it out.
I understand why it's not your focus, but what I'm thinking about is possibilities for next year and
Absolutely.
And staffing and those type of things. And if you're not going to throw a number out, I'm not going to throw mine out. But
Go for it. I'll be happy for you too.
mine may be too optimistic, but I would appreciate when you get some idea, sometime when things slow down after school starts.
Yes, sir.
Give me some numbers. I think we should know by, what, third or fourth week, maybe
Yes, sir.
first week of September, what our numbers are.
Yes, sir.
And-
Absolutely.
And then we can extrapolate and think, well, maybe we can do more after Christmas, and then maybe next year we get some idea. I think it's going to do fairly well.
I think it's doing extremely well.
My expectations are that this time next year, we're having a discussion about staffing.
Yes, sir.
And so if you get those numbers, I'd like to, just for my own fun.
I'd be happy to share them with you. Absolutely. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure this information has probably already been given to us and I somehow lost it.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned the graduation. I think that is a good thing. But my question is the graduation in and of itself the online school? And you'll be taking them to someplace, one of the high schools or wherever? Or will they be merged in with?
That's a great question. So what we have done to be sure that it really has fixes several problems. For every family that's been brought in particular, the students who have been in homeschool previous to this, we've established for every one of those families a home school. In other words, so if you would have been zoned for, say, Westridge or for Sullivan East High School, when we've enrolled those students, we've asked them to go to that school and enroll. So then that also helps the family to know, here's where I get my computer. Here's where I'm going to go cheer for a football team. Here's where, so we're attaching those families to a building, which I think is very important, and to a school of people and a community and a family and all those different things. So that kind of helps a little bit with that process. And then, I lost my thought. So say again.
When they graduate, they'll go.
So when they
to-
graduate, yes, that's the building that they will graduate from. All that's kind of attached, and that's where it goes. Thank you. I'm sorry. I had a moment there. So that's how that works. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, very good.
It makes sense. I'm just thinking as the principal in charge of the graduation.
Yes.
And I'm already thinking of getting in touch with them and make sure that they're there at practice and make sure that they have got their cap and gown and make sure. That's where my head's going. And that
Yes.
was my blank look to you. It wasn't in
Right.
response to your response to me. It was, I was already in
East.
You're already
March. I was
down the
already in
road.
March and trying to figure out and
Gotcha.
blah, 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 blah.
So for what it's worth, in our conversations with families, we're asking for our schools, or will be asking if they haven't already done this, to make sure that those children are in their messenger communications that they send out, as well as email communication. And we're going to create for the homeschool families, basically an email group. And I've told the families, I'm going to try not to bug you to death, but you're going to get a lot of information, not only from your school, but when it's time for ACT, you're going to get another message. When it's time for graduation pictures, when it's time for all those big milestone events, as I think of them in high school, you're going to get additional emails to be sure that you're in the know. As a matter of fact, we got some information today from some of the teachers who were in charge of yearbook and senior pictures, letting us know the times and dates of those things, because some of that's happening now. And so that's something we're putting on the email that we're going to put together and get to families right away so they can get over there and get that done.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do they go by the same curriculum that we do, or do they have their own?
So
curriculum
that's a
that they
great
can
question,
pick?
because the truth is that, all the different homeschools do different things. One thing that we're excited about with our homeschool program, they're going to be using Tennessee certified teachers with a Tennessee curriculum. Everything is right down the middle as far as what we're asking our students to do in our buildings and what this program is going to be asking students to do. So same pacing? No. Exactly the same work? Nope. But you're going to find differences from one side of the hallway to the next, even in our own buildings, So although it's going to look different, it is Tennessee state standards. It is the same, Tennessee certified teachers as far as, what they're certified to teach and all that stuff.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yes, ma'am.
It's been hard for me to be excited about much here lately, but this,
I understand.
this really, I'm a big proponent for this.
Yes, sir.
Are we gonna have to turn kids down this year, you think?
I'm going to have to wait list kids. Yes, sir. There's no way. My top is 50,
That's
and
due
that's where I'm going to stop. But yeah, with as many applications I have right now, I can guarantee we're going to have to wait list folks.
How can we, is there any fix to that right now?
More money.
Yeah, how much?
Again, I could get back to you on that. I'd be happy to.
Approximately $2,000 per student.
Yes, sir.
For the curriculum. Okay? For every student we generate, 75 is the base. So that's a beginning point. I know Ingrid's gonna smack my hand.
Yeah.
That's a starting point.
There's a fat round numbers. There,
Yes.
that's basically
There's
what we're
other
looking at.
factors in that. If a student leaves Sullivan County Schools and we gain one, then we're at zero.
Right.
So there's factors there, but if you're thinking, what does it take? That $2,000 per student is about what we're looking at. Wouldn't you
Yes, sir.
agree?
Did we budget 100,000?
Yes, sir.
In the,
And that gets us to the 50 students.
And how many do we have in there right now?
Applications.
I've got 37 officially.
And
I've
how
got
many of
over
those- and you
70
may not know this-
applications.
You may not know this, but how many of those are not Sullivan County students from last year?
I'd have to go back and count to give you a good number.
The
I
majority.
I would hate to
say,
give you.
For
Sorry?
sure, the majority for sure. Are not Sullivan County students last year.
I don't know if I'd say a majority.
Close.
Close.
I thought the homeschool and everything.
Well, and it's changed a lot too from when we started, and most of them were not. I mean, there was, and then what I saw today, of course. I mean, so it might be most now after today, but I wouldn't want to say for sure and give you a bad number. I'm just real particular about, I don't want to give you bad numbers. I just
And
don't want to do
also, it's
that.
important to say that this is just 6 through 12 right now.
It's 6 through 12, and I'll say that I've turned down 5 or 6 grade school families who have submitted applications, even though the application says middle
Grade
school and
6 through
high school.
12.
They've submitted because they want to be involved in the program, and I've sent emails basically turning them down that we don't have it for them.
Yet.
So there's room, so with that being said, there's room for growth there. as soon as we get the program and everything is humming along like it should.
So when you say that you would need more money, what does that money go towards?
Directly toward the program that we would use that provides the teachers and the curriculum and the things you asked about, actually.
And at some point, to Mr. Hughes' point, we would have to look at staffing at some point.
At some point, because with the small group we have, I mean, it's asking a lot already of the folks that we have that are involved in the small team to make it all
They're
go. So at
meeting
some point, that's going to
individually.
be important.
What'd you tell me today about each meeting's at least 30 minutes?
It's at least 30 minutes. It's
With
at
a
least 30
family.
minutes.
That's what I was wondering, if
Mm-hmm.
it would require more staffing.
Down the road, absolutely. When we get above 50, we need to start really thinking about what that's going to look like.
Because as these students are working, somebody has to be monitoring them about daily, really.
Well, and that's the plan now. We're going to monitor and we're going to be communicating, and we talked about the email group and managing all that stuff. That may not seem like a lot, but on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and I'm telling families, and I intend to stick to it. If we have a day or two where a kid doesn't get in there and do their work, we might send them an email. Hey, what's going on? Are you okay? That happens. Again, they're getting a phone call. And if that continues, we're having another meeting, and we're going to decide if this is a good fit for them or not. And I've done this a long time, and I know no matter how well we do our no matter how well we interview, and no matter what we try and do to make sure that we get the best people in our program, you can't know everything about someone. When you get to this kind of program, or what you're going to have to deal with moving forward after you've accepted a large group of people into something like this. So I expect we're going to have some of those conversations. That's time. That's a lot of time, not only just monitoring and figuring those things out, but then to have those meetings, call parents. We're running basically a small little side school over here by having this program. I'm happy to do it. It's good for kids, but it's a lot of manpower.
Do you know how many we've got maybe like out of the county that has applied for here? Do we have any of those?
We do. We've had a couple that have applied. Actually, we had one from Kokomo, Indiana today. We're getting some wild stuff, and I didn't know there was such a place. So yeah, we've gotten some. They're pure out of state. We've gotten some out of zone that we're looking at. Washington County, Hawkins County, Science Hill, Dobbins-Bennett, surrounding schools, several.
Great.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Sure, glad to do it.
I do want to say, I think 50 is a good number, because I think this is a new program. We're trying to fix as we go and figure out who's responsible for sending those emails, and who's responsible for this, who's responsible for that.
Right.
This is a new program. It's a honeymoon right now. I think we need to see the ebb and the flow. And then I think we absolutely, like Mr. Hughes said, how much is it going to cost and how can we improve it? But I think we got to work out the devil in the details before we start growing and grow so fast that we can't do a good job of what we're supposed to be doing. So I think 50 is a good number, but here again, that's one person here.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Can anybody remind me of what we paid to start the program? I have a number. Anybody,
What was it?
I thought it was 150, but I'm just going from memory. So if we got 50, that's 100,000. So we still got a little room to wiggle.
100.
100? I thought we went with 150. That's not much.
I think we were going to start out with,
we were thinking that. We might have said 150. So anyway.
Okay.
We'll think about that. But
Yes, sir.
some other questions. How are you advertising?
We've not had to do a ton of
That's-
advertising. Yes, Miss Stanley's done a lot of it herself.
That's all you need.
And then Miss Miss Akers done the same thing. They both Miss Akers put it on Facebook. Miss Stanley's done the same thing. Times New article. Of course, we had the Times News. WJHL came out one day and did an interview with Mr. Carter. Yes, And that was and Mr. Hilton was here for that.
Hilton did
They did
really
a great job.
Yeah.
And so that was wonderful. Really, outside of that, and I don't call that a lot of advertising. I don't. But we did do that. And again, even with that, 50 is easy. The big thing is that the word is traveling. It's word of mouth. Everybody I'm not going to say everybody, a lot of folks that have come to us, they did not see it online. They did not hear the news story, but people talk.
So, going forward, if we want to grow this program, we can.
Easily.
That's obvious. So, in Sullivan County, there's approximately 1,000 homeschool students, just in Sullivan County.
Yes, sir. Even more than that. That's what we know of.
We know of 1,000. So,
Mm-hmm.
is there any way we could directly identify and contact those 1,000 students?
So I'm going to correct myself, because what I did, I pulled a list from Lindsay Lady of the independent homeschool students that we have in Sullivan County that she keeps up with. That's how we know about at least the 1,000.
And who's that again?
Lindsay Lady. She is our secretary that works upstairs, who's wonderful and keeps up with independent homeschool students. So I took her list, emailed every independent homeschool student about our program. So I did do that bit of advertising, and I think that helped. Now, can we go beyond the independent homeschool students? That's a great, and I would like to, and that's a conversation to have. And how do we do that? Because we don't have a lot of great information about students that are outside of independent homeschool, and that's a big number.
I think we need to think about how we go about that. And then the final question, or a couple questions. Will there be a time, and if so, when, and how will it look? Will there be a time that we'll need another school number? Or will that be something that we know now that's probably never going to happen? And if it's going to happen, is it going to happen for each grade level? And how's that going to work?
That's a great question. It's something that's been talked about. I'll say this: it wouldn't be per grade level. If you had one school number, it would just be one thing. You could put a whole program under one school number, like the one we have, and include all grade levels, K-12. Okay, so. The real question is it a good idea? And is it something that benefits us or our district? And that's a big discussion. For starters, again, going back to what Dr. Rouse talked about, I certainly wouldn't want to do that on the front side, because as its own school, it's going to be subject to all the same scrutiny and all the same state regulations that any of our other schools have. And so that could be detrimental to us, depending on how students perform as being a part of this program. We don't know. So I wouldn't want to have it independent now.
Would size be a factor?
Yes, size would be a factor. Size, I think size could be a factor as to whether we make that change or not.
But you don't know where that begins and what that looks like.
I think that turns into a very educated decision from looking at what our data looks like coming out of that group of students.
Test scores, you mean?
End of course is huge.
Yes.
If the end of course results are strong, then I think we can talk about it. But I think until we see the results and how these students perform in this program, I think moving too quickly could hurt us.
And also, I think one of the unique things right now is that the student's connected to one of our schools
Yes,
for graduation, for
exactly.
Is
That does help.
homeschool, do you have any data that suggests that when they come in, they're behind, and if so, how much, and at what rate we can catch them up? Because I know, I talk to enough teachers to know that.
Right.
Not always, but in a lot of cases, when they come in, there's a catch-up period.
So I have empirical data, and I have data that I see on my desk that I have sitting up there right now. Empirical data suggests that looking at students, that not everybody fits in the same box, and that we do have students that go online whose parents are very dedicated, do a really good job, and they excel. The data I have sitting on my desk suggests that most of our homeschool tests or homeschool students that come in and take end-of-course assessments are not doing well, okay? So as I talk to families, I'm going to hear a lot of different stuff, but that's what the data says. The data says you have some exceptions, but a majority of the kids that come in and take assessments are not doing that great and tend to be below in achievement. Now, here's the thing. I'll say this. It's up to the homeschool families as where they even take an EOC test with us. And then when they get the results, it's up to them what they do with it. So are we seeing a lot of growth? No. They're not doing a lot with that for a multitude of reasons we may never know. But most of the data suggests that there's some problems there. And is a good reason why I think a lot of those families are going to choose to come to us and bring their children to us.
Mr. Jones?
I think my background tells me that it's not wise to have a separate school number for any type of program similar to this, and that's part of it there. It is a program, not a school. And if you have to make changes later on and you've got a school, then you have to go through a school closure type program.
That's right.
Whereas if it's a program, that's a decision that you make locally. We had a program similar to this years ago in Bristol, and it was a night school, had a separate number, and it was a really nightmare to do anything with that because it became an issue of how many staff members do you have? Do you have a principal of that school? And before long, it became really expensive to operate, whereas with a program, you have more control. Our alternative school is just a good example locally that we've had here, that it took a while to make changes with, even though the enrollment was dropping. And if it had been a program, it would have been a little bit easier to have made changes and maybe kept some things going. That's an opinion right now based on experience.
But well said, and everything you said is true.
Thank you, Dr. Palmer. That was a great update. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Letter C is a à la carte list, and Ms. Anderson's just asked that that be approved, showing the prices, which is the à la carte items and participation, and Amber's shared this before, but those are the two areas that we can have some influence and impact on her revenues beyond just participation. But so that à la carte list, really want to push those items and hope that students purchase those beyond the meal there. But just asking for approval there. Anything else, Ms. Anderson, that you'd like to add, or?
I'll just add that the yellow or the highlighted yellow are additions for name changes. The two that are highlighted orange are the only two price increases.
Any questions? Next, we do have the contracts signed. Of course, we went through an agreement as well. And I think Mr. Stevie's got some information just to kind of share where we're at on those contracts and a couple of items that have been requested about how we're handling some items on the buses. So, Mr. Steffi, turn it over to you.
Good afternoon. This evening I got, you all should have a memo just stating kind of what we went through in mediation. So we've got some contracts that's been transferred over. And we also, before the school year started, we were able to cut 3 routes in the Piney area as well. Any questions on the contract?
Yes. First of all, I direct you to G
Yeah.
on, I think, all contracts, but why are we agreeing to give them a 2-day period per instance with no penalty? Doesn't that just say you get 2 free days and they could combine routes 2 days and skip a day and do it 2 more days? I mean, that's what they do in my business. I mean, they'd wear this out.
Right.
So why would we pay for any routes that they don't run? And didn't we agree to that in principle in the mediation? And hadn't, tell me where I'm wrong.
So I
Just for clarification, Mr. Hughes, what, because there might be more than one G,
it
what
should be page 7.
I'm looking on the,
Section G.
page, okay, page 7, okay, thank you, I found it.
mine's highlighted, but yours may not be. Sure.
Oh, you asked for a printout. I didn't print everyone's
Okay.
out.
Okay. I'm looking at the actual contract, I'm sorry.
It's on the,
Okay.
it's on the link.
Okay. So we just need to take off, do we need to do a addendum to that, or?
Addendum, do we want to?
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
There's two things I'm looking for, or three really, in this contract. Pardon me?
G, page 7G.
There's three things I'm looking for. I'm looking to make sure that we don't pay for any routes that they don't run. And understanding there'll be sometimes that they. It's understanding there'll be sometimes that they do combine routes. That's part of business. I've never seen a contract where somebody had to pay for it. I saw some language on the tracking in the memo of understanding. I'd like to have that in each contract.
Okay.
And I'd like to go a step farther and keep open the possibility, and I don't remember the name they call those little devices that when the student gets on the bus, a picture pops up, and I know we're not gonna do that now, and that's down the road. But like the bus driver has a screen,
Yeah, the geotabs.
and, okay, that, when student steps up, they can say, this person's supposed to be on the bus.
Right.
That's something I think later on, when we get our drivers and everybody accustomed to this
Right.
system,
Yeah.
I think we move in that direction. Then finally, what progress, if any, have we made toward the tracking devices? And
So where we did that, where we had a mediation, the GPS quotes had expired. So I reached back out to Tyler Technologies. Fortunately, the prices did not change. In the packet, you should have 3 different quotes, one for the 10 tablets, 130 tablets, and then the other quote is for just the advanced routing software itself, if we were to, wait for the transition. And then those are the 3 contracts I gave out.
what are the plans installation-wise and timetable, just roughly? I know we're new, and it's gonna be a slow process. What's your thoughts?
So if they come and build our routes, she said probably between building the routes, getting the system, everything in place and everything, I think she said with about 3-year project.
And when will it start?
As soon as we know about the funding
And I think
for the GPS.
one thing we might want to talk about is, do we want to do a trial with a set number of maybe our buses and see
Well,
how it runs?
I know how it runs, and I know the outcome. When the problem's gonna be the process of most of these drivers becoming accustomed, and they hate change and like everybody else. But I've seen it, they can do it, it's easy. And they'll like it once they get used to it, but I wouldn't disagree with maybe we do it a step at a time. I think as far as the trial basis, I've talked to other school systems, and I just think we're probably behind on this issue, and we're about to catch up. But I'd like to see those issues addressed in the contract, and if you would, every month come back, or maybe if every month's too soon,
Yeah.
just no more than every 2
Updates.
months. Come and tell us where we're at, because I don't want to lose track of this. This, to me, is one of the most important things we've worked on.
Yeah.
And finally, before we get the actual tracking systems and we get a way to computerize and know exactly what routes are run and what routes are not run, I'd like to have a way to continue to monitor and have, hold people accountable and know what they're running and not running.
Okay.
You can do that several different ways. I'm sure you already know, but your principals do a pretty good job of that. And every now and then, I'd like to know what those numbers look like. I think you'll see that when we do get tracking, there'll be less days that they combine routes because they know they are getting tracked.
Yeah.
And I'm just not gonna keep paying for, services that we're not getting. And you've done a great job, by the way, so thank you.
Any other questions?
So I guess, and Chairman brings up a good question, do we need to, if we're gonna make any kind of amendments, do we need to do anything with the contracts as they are current, or kind of?
I don't think we have to vote to change the contract, do we, Mr. Jones? To change what he has in front of him to add what I just mentioned. I can't hear.
They've been signed. They've been signed.
Well, they have to be signed, but
We'd have to,
I can't hear him.
he said we need to make it official if they've been signed.
Yeah,
I think you gotta make it if they've been signed, I think you've gotta make it official and get them re-signed is my.
my copies don't have your signature.
Yeah, it's just a copy. It's just a copy.
So
The
he
actual-
signed it?
Yeah.
We hadn't turned them in yet, have we?
No.
Huh? Okay, then don't,
Just kinda-
redo it. And if they give you any pushback, and that was a deal breaker. We're gonna have tracking on our buses, or we're gonna own our own buses.
Right.
And we're gonna have, accountability, and we're gonna know where our students are, our principals should know, our parents should know. And finally, we should know that everybody we're picking up should be getting picked up, because a bus driver has no idea. They just pick up whoever's standing. And that's something that's becoming a concern. We could deliver the wrong person.
And I think we had you down as letter E as well, but that's kind of what this conversation was, so, around the transportation, GPS, so. Anything else for Mr. Steffi? All right, thank you. I will mention just real quick, I got an update from Ingrid. It was $150,000 that we'd put for the, online school, so, thank you.
Good.
Unless there's other,
Was all the 150 course programs?
yes, just for the programs. It wasn't anything for staff or anything like that. Yes, yes. I don't think there's anything else on our agenda at this time. I do know we're approaching 20 to 6. We probably need to, we need to head on over and hopefully come back with some good news or some positive, or don't come back. So we do have some snacks and drinks over here if anybody needs something, and we'll be back very shortly, we hope.